I'm Dr. Howie Jacobson, and this is the Plant Yourself Podcast. Each week, I bring you a conversation with someone who's making a positive difference in the world. And for my day job, I help leaders and their teams master their mindsets so they can achieve great things. To find out more, check out the Mindset Mastery Memo, my Substack newsletter. You can find it at plantyourself.com/memo. And now, today's show. Today we're going to talk about getting things done. And my guests are two of the most thoughtful people in the space of personal and organizational productivity, Tom Solid and Paco Cantero. I met them through their work with Paperless Movement, which, as it sounds, is about how to use digital tools to enhance our productivity, to make us get more done, to have more impact in the world, to be able to do it sustainably, to get up every day and do it again and again and again without burning out, without sacrificing our mental health and our happiness and our ability to enjoy and participate in life. So part of that is about how do we take notes? How do we manage the incredibly huge stream of information and data and impressions coming in so that we can take action on it? And in the old days, when it was just paper, it was more limited and you could write things out by hand and you could go through notebooks. The digital revolution has offered more opportunities and also more dangers for just being overwhelmed, being addicted to note-taking systems, capturing everything, not being able to find anything, or spending so much time curating our notes and our impressions and our ideas that we never actually end up turning them into action. So I wanted to talk to these guys because I struggle with this myself. I can flip between just having a very simple system to buying every single latest hot tool out there to help me become more productive, to have a second brain, to do personal knowledge management, to manage my tasks and everything, and manage my time and manage my energy. And so I have been flipping back and forth for a long time over sort of this, obsessive following of productivity porn and ignoring it and basically being extremely unproductive. So I wanted them to help us talk it through because I'm not the only person, I suspect, who would like to be more productive, who'd like to have a bigger impact on the world and do so in a way that has less sort of friction and drag on my own being. So let's get into it. Without further ado, Paco Cantero and Tom Solid, welcome to the Plant Yourself Podcast.
Hello, thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. We're going to talk about productivity today, and we're going to talk about it differently than I read about it in popular blogs. If for people that who like me, we can be sort of into productivity porn, like just watching hundreds of hours of video of the latest tools and things, or
not being productive at all while doing it, right?
Right, avoiding productivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and what really interested me about you guys' approach, and you have a movement called Paperless Movement, is that you're very, very thoughtful first about the philosophy behind, like, what does it mean to be productive? What is productivity? Is it the same as it was, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago? Is it really different because of the digital revolutions? And then how can we actually bring ourselves to the table, to these new tools, without going crazy, without jumping onto the tool of the week, or without what most people do. I find that I work with, they're not really into different tools. They're probably using the same thing they've been using since 2011 and have no concept of how much better things could be. So that's kind of my intro, and I'd love to hear from each of you how you got into this as a niche, as an offering to people. Like what interested you about it, and how did you see that there was a need?
Yeah, then I start as I initially founded the Paperless Movement in 2018 before Paco joined as the co-founder in 2022. And I was working in big corporate, in big industry with more than 300,000 employees, a lot of a rich company. And then I was shocked about productivity, if you want to see it this way. So you just mentioned if productivity changed at all, and I don't think productivity changed, because productivity just means that you're producing things. But what changed with the digital age is efficiency. And I think, therefore, we will have a lot more effective systems if we would leverage digital tools more. And back in the time, there was Evernote as the first note-taking apps, and Asana as the first project management tools. And then the iPad was launched. And I was working there, and I was the first person starting to use the iPad and the Apple Pencil, as I saw the huge opportunity to switch from paper to the digital way, just for getting the advantage of searching my handwriting, and therefore finding keywords quickly and finding information quicker again. And then it happened that in the company, the iPad was rolled out across all the executives, and they didn't really know how to do this. They just got it and said, now you become more productive. And that's where I founded the Paperless Movement in 2018, making YouTube videos about handwriting note-taking apps. And this was very popular back then. And that's what I show the executives as well. And I moved to IT and rolled out then more than that, which was not just handwriting note-taking apps. It was actually overall productivity system. I was a business analyst and implementing not only productivity system, but general business systems in this company. Mm-hmm. And as the side hustle, I grew the Paperless Movement with these note-taking apps. And I realized people are always relying too much on these note-taking apps. There's so much more to overall productivity. And what I actually established in this corporate and things like single source of truth and all these words that you now see in ICOR. And then in 2022, I met Paco, and it was on Twitter. So that's how things happen. I asked the question on Twitter in 2022, tags versus folders. Again, related to note-taking, would you use tags or folders in order to organize your notes? And his reply was neither. And I thought, okay, that's very rare that a person thinks beyond these two things. So let's hook up. And that's where we met, and we saw how like-minded we are. And that Paco, all the time, with his whole experience that he will share in a moment, he built something similar as I built in my corporate world and with all the clients that I had in the membership that we had back then, which was already ICOR. But with Paco coming in, we expanded it and perfectionized it for that it's literally working for all industries and doesn't matter the size of the company and things like that. And it's 100% tool agnostic. That was key, because I also saw the issue that people rely too much on tools and using too many tools in parallel and all these things. So, but before we dive into this, I like to hand over to Paco there.
Yeah, and just one quick reflection on that is I can't think of anyone who got an iPad who didn't become less productive.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, yeah. So the thing is, what I always said is, if you haven't been productive before, and let's say organized instead of being productive, because all the people I was working with, and we are working now in the Inner Circle program, they are all productive and successful people. Right. It is just the issue of scaling things and leaving behind of people who really leverage the digital age, because they get the unfair advantage there. And so that's the key. So if you haven't been organized in the physical world with your paper notebook, you lost totally in the digital work, because the opportunities are so much more. So you watch a YouTube video about this app, you download this, you start taking notes a bit in there, then you download the other one, you do a bit there, you scatter information all over the place, and nobody is really guiding you how to do it for your specific use cases, so you find the information and connect it to action. And that it was a missing thing that both of us, Paco and I, saw, that all the methodologies out there rarely talk about how to move information into action.
Great. All right, Paco, let's hear from you. How did you get into this wild world?
Well, I started quite early, okay, because it was at the age of 8 when I started coding. As you can see, I'm a productivity nerd. Okay, since I was born. Okay, everything was planned. And the point is that since then I understood unconsciously that we are surrounded by systems, and that was something that we need to be aware. Okay, that the sun, the earth, life itself, everything is a system. We are systems. And the moment that we understand that, we start operating like system. Because I think that all the anxiety, the stress, all this crazy world that we live, even inside or outside or both, is because we are not being perceived as systems ourselves. And I know that this sounds kind of philosophical, but it's the initial, okay, the point of ignition of all this story, okay, because based on that is, you ask us at the beginning, how do I become more productive? And it's by building a productivity system, okay, because that's the starting point of everything, understanding that we are system and we need to be backed up by a productivity system. For us, productivity is performing at your best without burning out. Okay, this is a definition that we have concluded after dedicating quite a long time to think about it. Because at the end, what is productivity? I think that it's, well, being able to perform at your best, but without killing yourself. Okay, I think that that's where many people are right now. That it's in that point that creates stress, anxiety, and all those type of negative emotions that are anti-productive, okay? And we need to create something, a solution, and especially in the busy professional world, because that's what we detected, okay? There were a lot of different methodologies, frameworks, whatever, out there, but we think that corporate was something that there wasn't anything at all. And the moment that I met Tom, and we concluded that it was quite similar, the methodology that we were thinking about, that it's a productivity system end-to-end. That means that you start grabbing information, and with that information, you create actions that are getting you closer to your goals. Okay, that's a main definition of a productivity system end-to-end. Then, when we understood that, okay, because before creating my first company that I created 23 years ago, right now I'm running 4 businesses simultaneously. I was on corporate for 8 years too. And both Tom and myself were aware of the problems of people not understanding what productivity is all about, okay? How you set goals and how you make or create something to achieve those goals. And that's the main, the ultimate purpose, okay, of the Paperless Movement and ICOR. That is how we name our methodology.
Okay. So when you say everything is a system, so what do you mean by that specifically? And I one of the things I've done for a long time is I coach people around like health behaviors, health habits. And so I would talk about, like, if you're going to go for a run, have your gym clothes ready in the morning. Is that sort of what you mean by a system? Like, how do you think, what's the difference between a system or not a system?
A system is something that you can run effortlessly, okay? For instance, what you have said, that's how you avoid being reactive, okay? A system helps you to be proactive, okay? Everything is in the right place when you need it. And that's the most important thing. For instance, habits symbolize pretty well what a system is, because to achieve a goal, you have 2 approaches, okay? The project approach, that is, well, I start listing here tasks or whatever, I create an order and I start executing, and then I try to meet a deadline, okay? I think that that's a wrong approach, and we should bet on the system approach or the work stream approach. I mean, creating a system that just by running it on autopilot, day by day, second by second, minute by minute, okay, effortlessly, because that's the most important thing. The moment that you bet on systems, you don't need to rush the things, you know. My dog is never in a rush. The sun is never in a rush. And, you know, everything is constantly working, and that's what a system means. It's something that it's constantly running effortlessly. Obviously, you need to feed it, okay? That's the input, okay, the information that we put into the system. And just by running the system, you get the outcomes that you want, that it's achieving that goal. And the closer you are to system, the better your life will be, okay? Because you just let the system run, and everything is going to be working by itself. And I don't know if that replies to the concept of system, but I think that it's like a feedback loop, positive feedback loop, that it's always working, instead of, just rushing the things, being stressed, improvising, not having a clear planning of what needs to be done, all that stuff. And obviously that's pretty easy to say, okay, but the difficulty is to implement it. And that's what ICOR allows a busy professional, okay, to implement, because this is not a fairy tale. This is something that we have tested through decades, okay, that we have polished, that we have dedicated a ton of work, deep thinking, and we have concluded something that you can perfectly implement by following a sequential way or journey that we call the ICOR journey, okay, and it's a step-by-step guide that helps you to make that a reality.
I just want to add there about the busy professionals, right? So we greet on YouTube. I greet the people with busy professionals. We call our members busy professionals, and there are, every now and then there's a person being offended by the word busy professional, and the issue is really that the negative feeling that busy brings up is completely wrong. Being busy is great. Think about the busy bees, right? They are busy the whole day, but everything they do has a purpose, and they don't feel annoyed or, that the bad busyness is running around in corporate and pretending that you are busy, and you are busy, no doubt. But I think the issue is many times that people are busy because they don't know what they need to do next, and they are just overwhelmed with all the tasks they have, the infinite task list and the finite calendar day and things like that. So to get back to the system, Busy Bees is a perfect example of a perfectly running system, and nature shows us. And we should adapt to this, so busy professional becomes something positive again. So being busy the whole day and feeling accomplished in the evening, this is really key, and not just running around and not knowing what to do and not meeting deadlines. And the ultimate goal is always with ICOR is also the mindset change in the teams, in the companies, that there's trust again, that everybody will do their best each day, and everybody can trust on this because it's crystal clear what goals are set, what projects you have, and therefore what tasks to work on. And each task a person is working on is always related to a goal. So therefore, there's no excuses there. It's easier to say no. Many things come out of this once you have this clarity in the team again. But it's not that easy, obviously, in bigger teams. So therefore, we start with the personal improvements first, and then it starts spreading within the team automatically. That's what we've seen.
So let me tell you some of the ways that I can be busy, because again, it'll run the gamut. So I can be busy. So today I made 3 videos for LinkedIn. So one of my business mentors says, like, to grow your business, let's get these videos that are sort of introductory, that are kind of well produced, and I've done them like 20 times, and every time I do them I'll show them to people and they say, no, it doesn't, your energy isn't right, you're not looking at the camera. So I did them again today, and that feels like good busy. I can also be busy not doing that, right? I can be busy because I feel embarrassed making a video in which I look stilted or awkward. So I would rather watch 4 hours of a course on how to be good on camera, right? Instead of actually practicing. I can be busy switching between tasks because I have so many tabs open, and every time I see a tab, I'm like, oh, I forgot to set up my Stripe with my Captivate podcast host. I better run downstairs and get my the check so I can put in the right information for the banking, and I can go back and forth, and I'm constantly moving things ahead, but it's almost like I'm driving 5 cars, and so I have to keep running from car to car. I can also be busy planning what I'm going to do instead of doing it. So, I have to admit, I was, following you guys, and I did get into this pit of chasing tools. So like, oh, Sensama looks great. Oh, Miro, let me try that. And then of course, if you get a tool you want to commit to, you have to commit to getting better at it and practicing it and understanding it and learning it. But I was doing that with 7 or 8 simultaneously. So when I hear, busy professional, I try to parse that in terms of the stuff that's actually moving me forward and the stuff that's either getting in the way or simply extra fluff.
Well, I think you have to build a plane while you're falling in this case, right? So there's one busy, what you described, this is procrastination. So you're busy procrastinating what you need to do.
Yeah.
But procrastination is a result of not having clarity what you need to do on that day. So that's why we introduced the highlight of the day concept, where we always have one task, which is deep work task that takes between 2 to 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, that you want to complete that day, and therefore you feel already accomplished by just completing this task. That's one thing. Getting clarity on what really is what are really the tasks that move your business forward. And while you're running this, realizing the system that you already have. Everybody has already a kind of system, but people don't realize the business processes within their business, the many hats they are wearing and things like that. So that's why we have this tool agnostic approach, and that's why we always warn, don't switch tools. In our inner circle coaching, we have many people coming in and say, oh, you're using Heptabase, you're using Tana, I want to use this as well. How do I do this? And we always say, stop, don't do it. We look at your tools, and so many times they realize after 1 month, in the end of the program, they had already a great tool stack. They just didn't know how to leverage it perfectly for their own needs. And that's why it's so dangerous going to YouTube looking for productivity advice, because many times there is a sponsorship behind, so people try to sell you something, even their own templates then, and then you have to learn the course in order to learn a template about Notion. And this is a very specific use case, and usually too narrow and too rigid for busy professionals in a highly dynamic and flexible workspace where they have to be flexible with their systems. So that's why we say key is learn tool agnostic concepts and workflows first, and that's what we do with ICOR. And there we use common terms everybody uses every day, like projects, tasks. We avoid buzzwords at most to leverage what people already have every day, so they don't need to learn new things, but understand why they're doing this, setting priorities. What is a priority? Why is it urgent? Why is it high priority? These things, people are confused, and they have these tools providing all these features like setting your high, normal, low priority, for example, due dates. What is a due date? When do you set these? All these things lead to confusion, and by applying the ICOR methodology, that's where Paco and I always say, if you take away any tool out of our tool stack, the next day we would be up and running in another tool, the same way as before. There might be features missing. It doesn't matter, because the core workflows are crystal clear and they can just be applied. And that's how we compare tools. That's how we always consistently try to kill our existing tool stack with new upcoming tools, where we go in there and just run our own, the same workflows in the other tool and see, okay, how far do we get? Does it work better? Do we become more efficient, or do we stay? And that's an issue that we see many times, where people, for example, use a task manager and they see there's a restriction in project management. So let's go to ClickUp or our project management tool, Asana, or anything else. And I kill Todoist or the task manager completely. And then they switch tools, which shows that they didn't understand why they were using the tool in the first place. And that's why we really believe that there's not one tool for everything. You need to have a tool stack and tools that are focused on specific features only.
Yeah, I feel like you've been reading my diary.
Now you know it. Now it's out.
Right. I can trace it from, Trello to Things 2 to Things 3 to Asana to Todoist to Remember the Milk to Wunderlist back to us. Like, with that, like, because it was always about it was always about the seduction of somebody showing you on a video, this is more beautiful, or this can do this, or this has natural language processing. And I never took the time to really think about, like, the only tool I use well is my calendar. Like that was the one thing when I went digital and I had a device in my hand that would beep when I had an appointment. I stopped missing appointments. Before that, I had I don't know if you remember, like a little like leather bound day timer sort of thing. Yeah. I would forget all that. I wouldn't look at it. I forgot that appointment. But like everything else was a seduction as opposed to an intentional, strategic, systematic approach. So I wonder. Well, go ahead.
And the tool companies themselves, they don't help at all with this, because if you go to any of these tool companies, most of them say we can do everything you want. Trello is an example, right? If you go to Trello, you can do anything, and then you go to Asana, they say exactly the same thing, and you go to ClickUp and they say the same thing. We can do marketing management. We can do everything with this tool, but it's one tool is better for one use case than the other, and that's where people get lost. And then it depends on who is marketing better and showing you specific use case that you can identify with, but that this is just a small part of what you do the whole day. That's something people don't realize, and this excitement about this small narrowed view you get makes you so excited to invest 2 weeks to switch to a new tool that you recognize when you have to use it on a daily basis. It's just clunky, and then that causes then stress because you don't make any informed decisions anymore. And we have Inner Circle members coming in burned out by this tool switching and method implementation and things like that, and they don't trust in a lot of things that they see on the web anymore. And that's really concerning what we see there. And another concerning point is that so many tool companies, doesn't matter, Evernote, ClickUp, all these, want to be the all-in-one solution as well, but they will never be. So that makes it worse for the people who need to choose the right tools.
Yeah, the announcements are like, hey, we've just integrated, I just saw Todoist now can integrate with my Google Calendar.
Exactly this.
And I'm like, oh, that's not helpful.
That's where people don't realize that there's a task manager, a calendar, and a planner, and a project management tool. And that's exactly what we show with ICOR methodology, or the ICOR framework, recognizing the different tool types, and then therefore also the different information and action types that you have on a daily basis and where they go to. And that makes you very quickly realize where this goes to. So we do this with the ICOR framework. It's a map where you can map out your tools, and then you immediately identify the gaps and redundancies in your system. And we also differentiate between 3 different tool types there, which are your core applications. These are applications that if you rip this out from your business, you have an issue, right? And that's what people do constantly with project management tools. It's insane. So you stop consistently your business, even if it wasn't running at best, it was running, and by switching it's getting worse. Then we have satellite apps. These are tools that just go on top of existing core apps. So one example would be you're using Gmail for your emails, and then you're using something like Superhuman, which just hooks into your email management tool. So you become more efficient with Superhuman as it leverages this differently, but if somebody takes away Superhuman, you still have your core application and the information there. And then we have the utility apps where you just use these like Raycast on Mac to be more efficient, or some apps that just help you benefit more, that are not really directly impacting your core business. And just having this map is an eye-opener for so many of our members.
Sure. Paco, you
also, I would like to add the moment that you go out there with our methodology behind, you got problems, okay? Because you look at the tools, at the applications, to the software solutions, and you are just seeing features, okay? And that doesn't matter specifically because every single software solution is going to sell you that you can do everything just with them. The workspace for everyone and just one space for everything. And that goes in the wrong direction, okay? Because no matter the product, any product has a strength and weaknesses. And the purpose of ICOR is forgetting about that layer, okay, of the tools, because the moment that you have crystal clear right now, you have described why you are busy, okay? And there you have that sensation of, well, not being productive, let's call it that way, because you are not paying attention to certain concepts. That's what the methodology allows you and brings to the table, okay? It's bringing concepts, okay, because we are pragmatic, but we have defined the essential concepts that you need to understand to start creating that productivity system. Concepts like batching, like sequentiality, like real understanding what time management is, or energy management. Why the heck are you going to do when you are fresh, things that you can do with much lower energy, for instance. All that is the type of things that a methodology behind helps you. We, in our courses, okay, we create a 3-layer approach. That the first one are concepts. So we teach the essential concepts. As Tom has said, we try to use common terms instead of just ICOR methodology, okay, or terms. Then we put those concepts into action so that you better understand those concepts and they are not something abstract that you cannot understand, because at the end the productivity system should be something that you run on autopilot based on your common sense. If you don't really understand the system that you have built, it doesn't make any sense, okay? That's why you don't have to follow third-party rules or templates coming from other. No, it's something that you're going to create by yourself. And that's the only way that you can really understand, okay? And the third layer in our courses is what we call implementation, is showing those concepts and workflows in a certain tool so that you can better understand concepts and workflows. But that doesn't mean that you have to use that tool, okay? And the moment that you go out there with those concepts and workflows pretty well defined, you will see how you approach tools in a totally different way. We have had people inside our community and membership, for instance, that just by using the tool in a different way, they become 10x much more productive than at the beginning, just using the same tool. That indicates that it's not about the tools, and that's why people are constantly switching tools, because the tools are not the problems, okay? Maybe you change to another tool thinking that you're going to solve these 3 features that your current application doesn't have, but then you are missing 8, that your current tool had. And then you are into that loop that you're constantly switching, and, well, that's it's going to take you nowhere, because it's quite difficult, because it's not a problem about the software you are using, but how you are using it.
Yeah. Well, and it's even worse if you do this with a team, the constant tool switching. That's where frustration is for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen this at corporate interventions of all types and sizes where things aren't working. People aren't getting along. They aren't working together. And so you bring in the next consultant who has the new method. And this is the magic that's going to fix it. And the truth is there is no magic. There is effort involved in thinking and in awareness, and then there's effort involved in turning it into a habit, right? That the system you've defaulted to has achieved an equilibrium, right? Yeah. And if you want to go to a different system, even if the new system is much easier, it's going to take energy to get you there.
Yeah, and that's what we had as also in our coaching program, that people ask us, should I get a consultant implementing the workflows and things like that? And we say, no, wait this month, and then you will realize how your system works. And with this map and your understanding of your business processes, then you can get in a consultant, and you will already save so much time explaining to him the things that you now perfectly understand for yourself, and therefore money that you can kickstart working with consultants or anybody who wants to improve your business, because you already know what you need, and now you need people who to carry it out.
So, and it's important, sorry to say this at this moment, but I think that it's appropriate, because this is not about making a big change just by making one big move, okay? The theme behind ICOR and the methodology is just that it's a combination of subtleties, that by combining all of them creates that big change. That's why people can literally make that big change without just doing a big move, okay? That's why they keep their same tool stack, most of their business processes and business workflows, and it's just approaching productivity from a totally different perspective. And that's what is not easy to understand, and that's why you have to have a methodology behind, because the methodology gives you that framework, creates those boundaries, so that restrictions allows the people to better understand what's going on and how they should approach productivity, okay, with a clear outcome that it's that productivity system that you have built by yourself, okay, following your criteria, your knowledge about your business, and just making things really work, okay, because they are much better organized.
And especially in business, everybody's talking about continuous improvement. And in corporate, I heard this a lot, right? So you have this goal that you have to improve something, and people come up with something, right? But continuous improvement happens automatically, naturally. Everybody will see opportunities to improve things once you have a process running, or at least understanding the current processes that you are doing. So the opportunities will come up automatically. There shouldn't be a goal for that, or people forcing into this and finding then opportunities, as everybody wants to work more efficiently and have a calm day and things like that. So that's, again, it goes back to the falling and building the plane while you are falling. And you mentioned in the beginning how you have to record the LinkedIn videos and for the 5th time and things like that. And that's actually business that you enjoy. But I published 500 videos on YouTube before we now have 2 video editors doing this for us, right? And I was look at my very first video when I was sitting in the basement there, and now each video was moving the business forward. If I would have thought about how I make the perfect video, I wouldn't have started today. So, and then it took another 400 videos. The first 100 I was then more or less happy. Another 400 videos where I was so efficient with the workflows that I perfectly were able to describe this in a SOP, in a standard operating procedure. And then to look out for the right company doing these editings, so they have just a checklist they need to go through and make these videos exactly the way that we've been doing it before. And that's another example where it makes sense to do it first yourself. Things are clunky and slow, but at least you're moving forward, and I think that's really key.
It's also a lot less expensive to outsource implementation rather than skill and strategy, and the inner essence that you didn't end up developing because you outsourced too quickly.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you look at business development, productivity, or any other space. If you start from scratch with somebody and have no general idea, then it makes it hard. Obviously, there are support where you have to start at some point, right? When I want to become a business owner, I'm going to courses, and then you have to gain a general understanding, and therefore all these things make all the sense. But you always have to think yourself about what you're building there and not just completely hand it over to somebody else. I mean, what I'm referring to frame this better, when I was rolling out Asana, for example, for more than 1,000 people in this corporate I was working in, we've been rolling this out based on the workflows that we established and that we implemented into Asana. However, at a level of 1,000 people, Asana said, we take over now. And we have our own consultants doing this now in this company, and you're no longer involved. And what they did, they ripped everything out and started with their standard templates to roll out, and efficiency dropped significantly. And that's where we were able to rescue it because we had perfectly laid out. No. Look at this, how we were moving this, and we want to have this way in Asana running. That's one of the examples. So having a general understanding and get to a certain level and then get more advice, that's really helpful to kickstart things.
Yeah. So I would love to share the ICOR framework so people know what we're talking about. And I wonder if we could do it just so I can wrap my head around it, just taking me as an example. I think it's be simpler to take one person, and I know myself. So, I'm a coach and consultant, so I'm always trying to write a newsletter, do an article, I'm probably reading 4 books at a time, listening to 5 other books at a time. I have to have all my, if someone wants a proposal, I have to remember where I put all the documents. I have to remember which is the most recent biography, that where it lives, what all that stuff, and then lots and lots of ideas, things that I want to remember, things I want to write down, a quote that I heard that might be useful someplace. So with all that, can you kind of put ICOR, put that into an ICOR framework? Like, what am I doing?
Well, the point is, first off, I would like to differentiate between ICOR and the ICOR framework, okay? ICOR is the methodology that we have created, those concepts and workflows that help you understand what a productivity system is, okay? ICOR stands for input, control, output, and refine. Those are 4 different stages that will help you better understand what you have just said, because you are mixing there information, action, I'm storing things, I want to use them, I want them to pop up the moment I want. Something came when I was walking with the dog, and then I want to store it and see it later. I want to filter all that information, distill it, make it work. Well, many things simultaneously. That's why creating a structure, okay, is how things work, and that's why we have created these 4 stages, okay? That has nothing to do, ICOR, with the ICOR framework, okay? The ICOR framework is a tool that we have created, a tool, not a software tool, okay? It's a diagram, okay, that allows people to lay out their tool stack, okay, their applications, so that way they can see overlapping, redundancy, gaps, all that information, okay? So one thing is ICOR with the 4 different stages that Tom will explain after this intro that I'm doing. And another thing is the ICOR framework that allows you to understand your current tool stack, okay? Because that's important, and that's the starting point. That's how every people should begin, okay? Laying out all the different tools so that they can find out, for instance, redundancies, to say, well, man, to store actions, as a task manager, I'm using Todoist, but also things. And sometimes I write things in Notion. Man, that's the chaotic, okay, the situation. That's the starting point of the chaos. And by laying out those applications is the moment that you start understanding all those problems, okay? And then ICOR starts with the 4 different stages that Tom will explain right now.
Great.
Yeah, so ICOR itself, as Paco already said, input, control, output, refine. If you go through the ICOR journey inside the membership, and now with the book that will be launched on Amazon and October 31st October, there you will learn the different parts of the productivity system, as Paco already described. So in input, we talk about digital note-taking and capturing, right? And that's the capture space. And then you go to PKM, which is the control part. And there you see already, we just reached control stage, and there we talk about PKM. And when you go to YouTube,
can you say what that is for people who haven't heard that?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Personal knowledge management and PKM, and it's another buzzword. That's why I just said PKM, because if you go to YouTube, there are channels only talking about PKM like it would be the productivity system itself, and that makes you more productive.
Yeah.
But you see, we talked about digital note-taking and split it away from PKM, which is input and control. And in output, we talk about task management, which is the personal task management, and project management, which is the business knowledge management and a business project management where you work together with your team. And again, we have people joining and say, I'm a solopreneur, I'm a freelancer, I don't have a team, so I don't need to go to this stage of the project management. But that's wrong, because you learn the mindset of thinking as a team. So by becoming aware that you're wearing these hats, changing your focus mode and context, because now you're the marketing guy, now you're the accountant, right? And now you're the creator recording these LinkedIn videos, for example. So making this helps you already to optimize just this business productivity system itself. And it makes it scalable. So the moment you bring in people with this mindset and how you set things up, they can start running immediately. And that's what I gave the example with the video editors. On day one, they started working on the videos like they've been working there for 10 years already. And this is the part with the project management like the pro. And then we come into the refine stage of ICOR. And in refine, we have the automation like a pro course then in the ICOR journey. And this is about not automating your tools. It is about workflow optimization and automation. So we focus more on optimizing your workflows before we move into automation. There's another movement where people want to automate everything. And I love automations. We are using Zapier, Make, custom integrations, many things. And if you would go behind the scenes how our ClickUp runs and how our content distribution works and things like that, you would see there's a lot of automations. But if I would share this on YouTube and tell people and try to train them, you can automate this, then the point is missed again. This is a result, a consequence of the workflow optimization that was done over years before that. So doing it manually makes you realize much more many times what you're doing and how you're doing this. And by writing down your individual step, you would realize what you're doing the whole day. And there, again, this is where you have continuous improvement. Do it over and over again until it becomes autopilot or manually. Then you find ways to optimize and save time. And then you automatically come to the point where you say, okay, if I would have one tool in order to do this automatically, that would be amazing. But you came also to the realization, maybe I can delegate this part of my workflow to another person. And then you make an informed decision who to hire. And that's the refined part of ICOR. And when we quickly go to the ICOR framework, which is the tool that Paco mentioned, that's a map that consists of, and you can see this if you go to our website, there is our tools section, and there we show the tools that we use laid out on the ICOR framework. And the ICOR framework consists of 4 areas that are overlapping, and that's key because there's no tight boundaries between different productivity areas. We have to overlap them. And the different areas there are PKM again, the personal knowledge management. Then we have the BKM, which is the business knowledge management. The BPM, the business project management. And the PPM is the personal project management, or as people say, task management. And this overlapping and laying out your tools on this map makes you realize many things, as I said, redundancies and gaps, but also the differences between personal and business tools and knowledge and action. And that's really amazing because now you really define what you're using these tools for. And the overlaps are key here. So for example, for us, ClickUp is in the overlap of BKM and BPM, which indicates that we are using it for both, for business knowledge and project management. But maybe some people using Notion and ClickUp in parallel, so they would go to different places on this map. And by just looking at this, you consistently have a bird's eye view on your whole tool stack at any time. And everybody knows also in your team then what tool to use. And it goes further with this, with team communication system that we have in the project management like a pro. So people really know what do you use for communication and what channels you have. And well, it goes further than that. But that's really the difference between ICOR and the ICOR framework.
Gotcha. So I'd love to take them one at a time because I think for me, input has been very interesting. So I grew up, handwritten notes, photocopying things, and then all of a sudden you had this digital world and people started saying, bits are free. You can collect all of them. And so I started, I was an early adopter of Evernote. and I discovered Evernote had a web clipper, and I saved everything to Evernote.
Yeah.
And I still have it. I'm afraid to get rid of, to stop paying for it, because I don't know what's in there. It's like, it's like a storage unit, like they have on like Storage Wars. There might be something amazing in there, and I don't want to stop paying for it. But I also.
But the point is, Howie, are you aware that you have survived without checking that life-changing thing? It's a miracle, isn't it?
That's the thing where we are conscious of this, people switching tools from Evernote to, it doesn't matter what other tool they want to go to, and they are worried about the 10 years of notes that they have in there. And I'm one of them, as I was using this since day one, and I was scanning all my invoices there. There are a lot of videos where I showed the Raven scanner back then, no longer available. But I became 100% paperless this way, and everything was in Evernote. But once you move on, you rarely need this anymore. It's like the old shoe boxes with your school notes that you have there, and you just keep them for nostalgia, but not really because you need them, because life moves on, and you already refined everything that is in there into other system. They evolved, all right? The information moved on. It's fluid. It's not just there, and you go back and you search for something. If it was important, then it was already moved on.
It's important that talking about input, I think that we should start before just trying to organize the information that you capture. You should step back and use, for instance, one of the workflows, the mental models that we have developed inside ICOR, that is called the Capturing Beast, that helps you to decide and define what you should be paying attention to, okay? It's a mental model that avoids just capturing for the sake of it. It's a framework that allows to feel afraid about that fear of missing out, that it's why we are constantly capturing, because you have just said that the term is that right. I have things there stored that can be life-changing, and I never go and check them out. But why the heck? Life-changing is what you have done, your current position, your business, and feel proud about it. Forget about that thing that you captured that you think that it was life-changing, because we are not conscious, but we are constantly processing the information, our surroundings, our opportunities. And that's why we need a flexible system, and that's what ICOR brings to the table. It's a tested system in real life, okay? In my personal case, I use it to run 4 different businesses with 70 people inside the team, with different project management, 3 different project management. It's prepared for real life and understanding this thing. What you have just said, I'm constantly capturing information. I want to organize. I want to have quick access to them. I want promote my serendipity so that I get inspired by all the things, but I quote that I store, and all those type of things. ICOR, the methodology, takes care of all that reality nowadays, that information overloads, and allows you to completely differentiate between information and action. That it's what people are not doing. We are seeing people, busy professionals that are successful people, but they are, for instance, storing information in tools that are dedicated to organize and complete actions. That's something that doesn't make sense at all. We need to start differentiating, and by going to the world, to the outer world with that perspective, is how you can start understanding how you should approach everything and how you can become productive, okay? Because there are quite a few mental models that helps you understand that reality that you are living every single day.
Yeah. So what comes up for me is it's almost an emotion around trust, right? So you're saying trust that if you still need it, you'll find it again, or trust that if you have this mental capturing beast framework, that you're not going to miss out on good stuff. And yet there's a sense of like, I could trust myself, but I'm also outsourcing some trust to these tools. And it feels like a hard thing.
Yeah, the reason for that is simple. You stored all this information without knowing what you stored there. right? Was just filling up. That's why I called Evernote always a document dump. I just saved my invoices there. I never took notes at some point. It was just about when I need a document, I can search for the content in a PDF and it will find this invoice, right? That's what is the amazing thing. So I didn't need to worry about this. But once you have a properly organized system, and the Capturing Beast splits this into 3 categories where you store the things, 3 buckets, which is the current projects you're working on, your key elements, which are life essential things, and topics. And topics is really something, there can be thousands of topics in there that interest you. And there we also say just focus on 3 at a time, because otherwise you get overwhelmed. And just by this, you will change focus on what is bombarded at you every day. That's the real issue about the digital age, is that we get bombarded with so much information. That was also not the case years ago. And now you want to store that because it is so life-changing. And that Paco mentioned it as well. It might have been life-changing that moment. But when it sits there and you look at this a week later, you think, okay, it was not even worth saving. And that's why we, again, at least Paco and me in the Paperless Movement, we are using 3 different tools in order to split the types of information into different tools, which makes it then easier to make decisions on how to move on and move forward. We differentiate between shallow thinking and deep thinking, and there is from Readwise the Read Later app, and there you can throw in everything. It is exactly the same thing. It is just to skip the FOMO or satisfy the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and you have it stored somewhere. But we rarely go into this tool and to really search for something. It was just to know, okay, I saved it somewhere. I always think about, if I look at something, would I be faster Googling it later again instead of searching in my PKM system? And especially if things are, and that's again an example of different types of information, realizing, is it news that I'm looking at, something that is just relevant right now and outdated tomorrow, or is it something that is evergreen? So then if it is just news, I don't store it at all, because if I Google it later, I will get the latest update. I want to have outdated information in my PKM system. So there are many subtleties, as you can see, and the key is really to understand what type of information you store in what tool and how you stored it there to retrieve it later easily. And then you know perfectly what happens if you kill that tool, because you know what is stored in there, and then you can go through this and extract what you really need to move on to the other tool.
And trust is something interesting, Howie, because this is related to a concept that we defend, because there's a concept out there talking about productivity that is that famous thing named the second brain. And we disagree about that. In fact, we have a concept inside ICOR that is called one brain with 2 parts, that is related to the starting point of our conversation, that systems approach, okay? You trust on your productivity system because it works the exact same way as your biological brain. Again, kind of esoteric, philosophical, but the thing is that the problem comes that you have a way that your brain works, and then you face tools that are completely different, how they work and how they operate. And that's what creates that friction, that pain points, that scatter information, tasks all over the place, not organizing project, not achieving deadlines, because there's a different approach when you are thinking by yourself using your neurons versus how you interact with your digital tools. And I think that calling it second brain, it's what creates that dissonance, that differentiation, and that mistake, okay? Because the moment that you see yourself as a system, your digital productivity system is exactly the exact same system, okay? Running by the same concepts, the same workflows, and the same way of doing the things. That's why we don't care about changing tools, okay? Because the tool is going to work the exact same way. It's like you're not going to change the way you think after being decades seeing life in a certain way. Obviously, you can create new input, new outputs, but the way you process the things are not going to change, okay? And the moment that you understand that you just only have one brain with two parts, one that is physical and the other one that is digital, and everything is perfectly aligned, it's the moment that you can build that trust, okay? Because you are just following your common sense that is perfectly represented in the digital tools, okay? Because they work the exact same way. And I think that misconception of the second brain is what creates that friction points about changing information tools, switching tools, looking for the best tool possible, when the thing is how your brain works, understanding how your brain works, and based on that, create that productive system that is perfectly aligned to that physical and neuronal connection.
Yeah. And I really want to add something here to close the gap between this physical and the digital world. The thing is how humans evolved over time. They have to use what they have in the physical world. And when they store information, they started with paper. They created books, and eventually in the corporate you've been using, or all over the place, been using folders. And you put papers into folder. That is something we have been doing for thousands of years, to store this information this way, and that's why we are used to this. But it never worked like our brain works. We don't store information in one folder. We always get context between different types of information and make connections. So then people developed the Zettelkasten method and tried to overcome this obstacle in the physical world, and now become digital. What happens? We have Windows and we have the Finder, and all are using folders again. It's even the icon of a folder, so people can relate to this, and it's easier the transition from the physical into the digital world. But now is the key. That's the pivotal moment that we are at right now. I was talking to the former CEO of Evernote, Ian Small, back in, I don't know when it was, 2019, I think. And we've been talking about Evernote and how it evolves. And I said, how many people are using tags in Evernote? TAGS, tags. And he said only 2% of people are using it. And that's why we are not following up on improving the feature. We're focusing on other things. And I said, but this is the advantage of the digital era, that we have cross-connection between different information, not having them in one folder, but having them in several folders in parallel, something it's impossible in the physical world. And he said, well, 2%, and that says it all, no need to do that. Well, then you saw it. Rome Research came out, and Obsidian, and you see all these things where people started linking your thinking. You see this movement there as well. And this is exactly it. But again, people tried with the Zettelkasten method now to overcome this and to explain what is happening. What's really happening is, and what people need to realize, we're getting closer to the functionality of our brains in the digital world. And we have to think outside of the box of this physical age. That's where people go back to the Franklin planner to feel secure again to the things that they're used to, because nobody is really explaining them how this works. So that's one of the missions of the Paperless Movement, to make the transition easier, to give real-life examples that it is actually not so complicated once you get the point, because it is much closer to how your brain works than you've been using physical items. That's why we stopped using paper notes and so on. Or I still have the remarkable here, and people hate me a lot on YouTube for that I say the remarkable is no difference to a piece of paper. In fact, it's worse, because you cannot search your handwriting there. And scrolling through the pages is a lot slower than doing it on paper. So you see, I'm not looking for things that don't distract me and then I can say I'm now digital. It's really about leveraging the digital ways that we have now that brings us closer to our own brain's workflows.
Mm-hmm. Got it. This has been really good, because while you were talking, I made a list of like all the note-taking apps and PKM apps that I have used, and I like Obsidian took me was 6 months of hell trying to figure it out and downloading all this stuff and feeling like, this is going to make me super intelligent. And so I've got Evernote, Obsidian, Joplin, Tana, Heptabase, Lazy Dot. So
you've been very busy, Howie.
the wrong kind of busy, right? Not like the bee. But what I'm getting is it's almost like if you're telling someone how to eat to be healthy, but all they have is like processed food and junk food. They're always going to have to be like, oh, how much of this can I have, or when do I eat this? Whereas if you're eating healthy fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, then it's much more attuned to your natural world. And what you're saying is that we start to understand how our brains have naturally worked, we can then impose that on whatever tool rather than having the sexy features of this tool override us.
Correct, because that's what people are doing. They are forcing their brilliant minds to work with the limitations of a digital tool because sometimes tools enhance, our performance and the outcomes that we produce. But if you use them wrong or they are constantly attacking your brain processes, then your brain power is going down, because you are constantly, and that's what's happening, a busy professional that it's in the middle of the chaos, inside a storm, day in, day out, and creating these friction points by using tools not the right way, it what creates those negative emotions that we started saying that we remove thanks to having a methodology behind, The moment that you have everything, for instance, moving from information to action, Getting things done. If you have a system, that tells you, replies to these 3 critical questions, that it's, when will I do this? That's a question that I would love to receive, When will I do this? This task, this project, whatever. What do I do now? The moment that I'm starting to do things, I have crystal clear what I do now. And finally, am I doing what I should be doing? I mean, this little thing that I'm doing is taking me a step forward towards achieving my goals. Imagine are you going to trust that kind of system? Of course you will, because those are the main questions that, talking about action, anyone wants to solve the best way possible and not based on just, an intuition, something like that, or even worse, not having any idea at all. That's what ICOR brings to the table, and a productivity system that works smoothly, just following your natural flow and allowing you to do, because this brain with 2 parts allows you to take the best out of the digital world, especially right now that, for instance, with artificial intelligence is something, you cannot imagine how we have leveraged the Paperless Movement project thanks to AI, for instance, but using it correctly, because people are always looking for miracles, and things that just start overnight, but this takes time, And the moment that you understand that, but also taking the best out of your brain, because we think that's why some people are scared about artificial intelligence and things like that. Our brain is so powerful that the moment that we are really focused onto something, that we don't suffer interruptions, that we don't stop our workflow, is the moment that our performance, it's amazing. We have seen people just being focused for 1 hour and doing amazing things. For instance, the other day I read that the iPhone was just designed and delivered by a team of 20 people. 20 people create something that has revolutionized the society, for instance. So we underestimate what we can do in a certain amount of time, For instance, we are not conscious about the things that we can do when we are working properly in just 2, 3, 4 hours, a day. And that's huge, and that's huge. And that's possible to combine with what we call shallow work, that is all those operational things that we need to perform daily, because they are also important and crucial to keep our businesses alive, And the combination of that is what allows us to deliver and perform at a peak level without burning out.
Yeah. And I just want to add something to get back to the system approach and also the biological world. As I studied physics and I made a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology, and I always looked at these cells as a system, right? I'm not asking of if I put this nutrient in and it captures this nutrient, that I don't stop asking questions. I'm asking what happens now, how does it digest things, and what will grow out of the cell, things like that. So everybody is looking at these things holistically, but they don't do it for the productivity system. And that's why it's so important to look at these different areas beyond knowledge management, especially, and see everything from a holistic view. And that's also where we have the productivity quiz, the free productivity quiz on our website, where you can go in and answer the questions, and you will realize all the different areas in your productivity system that have gaps. And you see, many people, they are pretty good in note-taking. When we look at the results, I made a recap video there from 1,000 surveys there, quiz results. They're pretty good in capturing. But then when it comes to organizing notes, they fell short. And the questions that we ask there are just the questions that you need to have in place, common things where you see. And then you see people are pretty good then in task management maybe, but not in project management. It's really interesting to know. And that's where is the perfect starting point into realizing that there's more to this than just having a proper note-taking app and having a fancy system and following some rules that somebody gives you how to connect nodes. That's not it if it doesn't make sense for yourself.
Yeah. So let's find out where people can find out more about you, where they can take the quiz, and how they can start to learn from you.
Yeah, sure. So all they need to do is to go to the paperlessmovement.com, and on this very first page you will see all the things that we offer, including the free quiz and all the free resources, the articles Paco is writing, the videos that I'm publishing. Our podcast episode as well is there, accessible, everything for free. And then you see all the further information about the membership and our direct coaching program that we offer.
Great. And
the book.
Yeah, tell me about the book. I didn't realize you guys had a book.
Yes, it's going to be released on October the 31st. And we made that because, due to many things, okay? First off, because we got hundreds of members who were demanding a piece of content that synthesizes everything, because through the ICOR journey that has 5 different courses, everything is a step-by-step guide, but it's something that it's online that combines, a video with growth assignments, with magic slides. They wanted just the synthesis of the methodology and the ICOR journey, and that's why we created that. And also because at any moment they want to quickly have a place where what we call a single source of truth, okay, that it's a place where you can find what you are expecting. And we are really happy about the end result, because we think that synthesizes all the knowledge that Tom and myself have condensed through decades of experience in the world of productivity. We have done it as simple as possible, as short as possible, but we have had beta testers, and they are really happy about how we have synthesized the things. And it's a piece of content that we consider that delivers real added value for busy professionals and even people outside of the corporate world, because at the end, productivity, we talk about productivity in corporate business, but it's think that it's a way of living, okay? A way of living. People who want to improve, to grow, to take the best out of their time without suffering. I think that all those people feel quite identified with methodologies like ICOR.
Yeah, it feels almost like the way you would meditate in the morning before starting your day. It's almost like it's like the process and the habit is almost like the synovial fluid around your joints that we don't have to do. Like, it's optional to think about our lives. There's enough coming in. There's enough other people's agenda that we could just go through our whole lives and not think about it. And what you're really asking people to do is take a minute to think about it, and to take a little bit of time as part of the R to refine, to bring awareness to it and see new possibilities. So I almost see it as a spiritual invitation as much as a business invitation.
For sure.
Amen.
For sure, because I think that what a human being really demands is purpose. The moment that you wake up and have a purpose, a mission, something that gives sense to ton of hours that we dedicate nowadays to work or whatever, I think that finding out that purpose easily and effortlessly is what brings that peace of mind, because that's what we are demanding in life. Okay, it's peace of mind. It's feeling like my dog, that he's calm, that he's not suffering, he's not stressed at all, and that's what we demand as human beings, because no matter artificial intelligence, software tools, whatever, we are still little monkeys out there, and we need our basics again, okay? We need to recover our basics, and that's something that you can perfectly do nowadays, enjoying the best of both worlds, that it's your primitive assets, okay, and the amazing opportunities that we have right now, accessing to amazing information, being able with I think that it's the best moment to create a business, for instance. You don't need huge resources to create something great, and you can find out that meaning, fulfillment, and purpose in life without any problem. And at the end, I think that this is the ultimate goal that we all pursue.
Beautiful. So the website, again, is paperlessmovement.com. The book is ICOR Journey, ICOR. And it's coming out October 31st, Halloween. So for people who are scared of productivity, it's a good day.
It's currently on pre-order, so you can already access this on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, Paco and Tom, thank you so much. Your work has already helped me a great deal.
And we just entered the input part, right? So you see, we can talk hours, and we just mentioned one mental model. So there's a lot to unpack, but still, it was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, and I wish you all the best. And I hope our brains will connect again.
For sure.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Thanks to you.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. You can find the show notes with everything we talked about at plantyourself.com/605. Movement news. Got an exciting workout coming up in a little while. It's the 100-500. 20 push-ups, 100 jump ropes, repeat it 5 times, and eventually, when I can do it, get to be able to do it speedier and speedier. So building some strength and stamina at the same time. Looking forward to that a little bit. Scared a little bit. Played Ultimate, and still, as you can hear, still got a little bit of a lingering cough and cold. So I think that's still undermining a little bit my cardio. Decided I wanted to get back into morning jogs, not the same way that I was when I was running ultras and I would do 50, 60 miles a week, but I did pop into the local sporting good chain Decathlon, and I got you can see it if you're watching, a low-end, bottom-of-the-line Garmin watch that still does amazing stuff, and so it's encouraging me to get in my 3 miles 3 times a week, just as a way of getting back into it. That's about it for me for this week. Got some great conversations coming up. I'm looking forward to sharing those with you. As always, be well, my friends. Let's take this home with some gratitudes. First of all, thanks to Mama Earth. You have been so very, very good to me. Second, Will Ridenauer donated the use of his beautiful song Sabali Dong as the theme music for this show. You can find out more about Will's music at willridenauer.com. Third, thanks to all the patrons of the Plant Yourself podcast for your financial support. You can read the names of all the patrons at any show notes at plantyourself.com. If you would like to become a patron to show your gratitude for the work I'm doing and help support it, you can do so at plantyourself.com/gift. That's GIFT, all lowercase. And finally, I want to thank you, the listener, for making all of this possible, for giving me a reason to reach out to people, to have conversations, to edit, produce, publicize. All the stuff that I do is for you, so that we can continue to have conversations and continue to ripple out healing and transformation into the world.